my sincere condolences to the families who are here, but also to the families in Ethiopia and in Indonesia who are watching this hearing or will be watching this hearing. I don't speak Amharic, but for the Indonesians, kepada keluarga korban yang dan orang-orang Indonesia, selamat datang. Dan saya ingin memberitahu Anda bahwa kami senator akan sepenuhnya menyelidiki penyebab tragedi ini. And what I just said was, we will, as senators, get to the bottom of this tragedy, and we will continue to investigate this, and we will not stop. Because you see, Boeing sells its aircraft to the world, and we, in America, have a well-earned reputation as leaders in aviation in the world, and I want us to reach that shining example once again. Pilots know that tragedies don't occur in a vacuum. Catastrophic outcomes result in long succession of failures that often overwhelm the pilots at the control of the aircraft. We call it in aviation the accident chain. And there are many links in the accident chain that must happen that eventually overwhelms the pilots and you result in the crash. Many of these links in the accident chain happen with Boeing and your decisions in the development of the 737 MAX. So let me talk about what has happened here. You put a sensor on the outside of the aircraft, which is standard, but you allow that sensor to override the pilot's input in this system. So in every other 737 aircraft, there is the function of you can pull back the pilot, the cutout, and that will override that uncommanded nose down attitude. That is standard. That is the basic assumption. As you said, you use an industry standard on how a pilot would react to a malfunction like that. Uncommanded nose down, every pilot, including helicopter pilots, you pull back. But what you did was you put an MCAS system into an aircraft. You didn't tell the pilots that this MCAS system was in there, and you put in a function in order for MCAS to work the way you want it to work. After the pilot does the uncommanded reaction to the uncommanded nose down, in every other 737, cut out, that's the end of it. In the 737 MAX, after 5 seconds, the system resets and it pushes the nose right back down. The pilots had exactly 3 seconds to pull nose down, pull up. Now we got to do a new procedure that did not exist in previous 737 models, which is the electronic cutout switch. Because you have now put into a system that overrides the pilot in command of that aircraft. So you've been telling this committee that, yes, you use basic pilot reactions. That is true. But you've not been telling this committee the whole truth. Time and again, this is my frustration. Boeing has not told the whole truth to this committee and to the families and to the people looking at this. Yes, the pilots did exactly what they were supposed to do. But 5 seconds later, especially if that sensor is still stuck, it overrides what the pilot does and it pushes the nose right back down again. 3 seconds. A pilot's best friend is time and altitude. Yep. And on takeoff, there is no altitude. And he's got no time. You set those pilots up for failure. And when I sent you a letter asking you to answer several questions, it took Boeing over 5 months to respond to my question. I only got the answers the day before you and I met. And one of the questions I asked was, what date did Boeing discover that a stock angle of attack vane would result in MCAS issuing persistent commands with unlimited authority to trim the airplane nose down? In layman's terms, if this vane is stuck, MCAS will continue to provide faulty directions and will keep pushing that nose down over and over and over again. No matter how many times an experienced 737 pilot pulls back on the yoke, 5 seconds later, reset, nose back down. You knew in 2016 that this was happening. And your team at Boeing decided we didn't need to fix that because of well-understood piloting techniques and procedures. But the problem is that well-understood piloting technique and procedures is to pull back, and that's it. But you added something else. You put in a system and you didn't tell pilots about, and then you put in an override by resetting the system 5 seconds later. Boeing is the company that built the Flying Fortress that saved Europe. I remember watching B-17s fly above the ground. It is a storied aircraft that has rescued the free world. And yet, You knew about these problems, and you continue to put them into the system into place. And when we ask you to answer these questions, you have told this committee and you've told me half-truths over and over again, including in that meeting. This is why I am so upset. You have not told us the whole truth, and these families are suffering because of it.
Thank you, Senator Duckworth. Members of the committee, at